Hi Ronnie, it's Grandma. I'm going to read to you today a book called Frog and Toad Together. I hope you like it. This starts and it's called A List. One morning Toad sat in bed. I have many things to do, he said. I will write them all down on a list so that I can remember them. Toad wrote on a piece of paper, a list of things to do today. Then he wrote, wake up. I have done that, said Toad, and he crossed out, wake up. Toad took his clothes out of the closet and put them on. Then he crossed out, get dressed. Toad put the list in his pocket. He opened the door and walked out into the morning. Soon Toad was at Frog's front door. He took the list from his pocket and crossed out, go to Frog's house. Frog and Toad went on a long walk. Then Toad took the list from his pocket again. He crossed out, take a walk with Frog. Just then there was a strong wind. It blew the list out of Toad's hand. The list blew high up into the air. Help! Cried Toad. My list is blowing away. What will I do without my list? Can you see that? Help! Cried Toad. Hurry, said Frog. We will run and catch it. See, they're running to get it. No, shouted Toad. I cannot do that. Why not? Asked Frog. Because, wailed Toad, running after my list is not one of the things that I wrote on my list of things to do. Frog ran after the list. He ran over hills and swamps, but the list blew on and on. At last Frog came back to Toad. I am sorry, gasped Frog, but I could not catch your list. Huh! Blah, said Toad. I cannot remember any of the things that were on my list of things to do. I will just have to sit here and do nothing, said Toad. Toad sat and did nothing. Frog sat with him. After a long time, Frog said, Toad, it is getting dark. We should be going to sleep now. Go to sleep, shouted Toad. That was the last thing on my list. Toad wrote on the ground with a stick. Go to sleep. Then he crossed out, go to sleep. There, said Toad, now my day is all crossed out. I am glad, said Frog. Then Frog and Toad went right to sleep. That's the end of that one. The next one we're going to read is called The Garden, with Frog and Toad. They're best friends, you know. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. What a fine garden you have, Frog, he said. Yes, said Frog, it is very nice, but it was hard work. I wish I had a garden, said Toad. Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground, said Frog. And soon you will have a garden. How soon? Asked Toad. Quite soon, said Frog. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. Now seeds, said Toad, start growing. Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head down close to the ground and said loudly, now seeds, start growing. Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, now seeds, start growing. Frog came running up the path. What is all this noise? He asked. My seeds will not grow, said Toad. You are shouting too much, said Frog. Those poor seeds are afraid to grow. My seeds are afraid to grow? Asked Toad. Of course, said Frog. Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them. Let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow. All the next day, Toad sang songs. Can you see the picture? To his seeds. And all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds. And all the next day, Toad played music to his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. What shall I do? Cried Toad. These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. It's been all that work. "Toad, Toad, wake up," said Frog. I can get you to see that. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. "At last," shouted Toad, "my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow. And now you will have a nice garden too," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad, "but you were right, Frog, it was very hard work." And that's the end of that story. Next time, we'll read Cookies. See you next time, honey. Bye-bye.